Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Sarah Griffiths, Rob H., Ben White, Maximum Gravy, Austin Whitsit, John Keys, Tommy Swagnuts, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, theflatearthchannel.com, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
But they're not understanding. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're also the same as us. They're fully persuaded in their own mind on the flip side. So everything we says is just like how we hear them is how they hear us, right?
But if that were true, then why would they even participate? Or why are they participating if that's the case?
For the rebuttal,
Well, it's the same.
Argument. It's just for argument.
It starts becoming about.
Well, it's also their belief. So they're standing up for their belief as well. You know, the same thing as you're doing, which is why we'll give it back to them because we're standing up for our belief. But our beliefs are based on facts. But that's a whole other thing.
Well, we don't have a belief. You're wrong about that. We don't have a belief. We have a true fact.
I only said that for conversation purpose, not an actual belief.
No, words have meanings. Words have meanings. Get it right, buddy.
No need. Just no need, Neil.
Joking
well,
around,
ultimately, you can still
relax.
call it a belief. I mean, come on.
But it's not a belief, though. If you want to get technical, it's not a belief.
Well, how do I put it?
That's why we've got to be hyper
anyway.
specific when we're talking about things. We've got to be specific, be hyper specific.
Exactly, Rams. Exactly. And when I laugh at the end, that means I'm joking.
Right.
Just don't say 90.
Well, I guess I'm just seeing it from like another perspective of like, how do I put it? Because we all see the same thing, right? Like we all, like Nathan says, we all look at the Chicago skyline and we all see Chicago, right?
Correct.
And we see it for what we see it, but the other guys, they see it for something else. So it's like we're persuaded one way and they're persuaded another way.
But they see it too.
So we both see the same thing, but the way we explain why we're seeing what we're seeing is different. Because then we can start getting into that, like specificity again.
Well, Nathan, how do they see it? You break that down nicely.
How do they see what?
How do they explain when they see something like the Chicago skyline?
They don't see the Chicago skyline. They see a slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of the Chicago skyline from behind the reified, now debunked by the Black Swan, sphere-edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve.
You see?
I love that.
So in a sense, you could say we believe that we see the Chicago directly. They believe what Nathan said.
They
I mean,
say
you
it's a
can still
mirage.
kind of say it's
Exactly.
belief, even
Oh,
though
that's wrong.
A mirage.
But that's
Like-
wrong, righteous.
They call it a mirage.
So it's wrong to say. Even from our side, is it's wrong to say it's a belief?
Not when you see it. You're saying, I see it.
So I'll just break that down one more time. So they see a mirage, and a mirage is a holographic projection of the Chicago skyline from behind the reified sphere-edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve, now debunked by the Black Swan. So that's what they see as a glober or anti-flat earther. We see the Chicago skyline and say, Chicago skyline. If we choose to, we can say the distance. But we just see the Chicago skyline and say, there's the Chicago skyline. They say, no, even though you can see the Chicago skyline, you don't actually see the Chicago skyline. It's behind Earth curve. It's a refracted, what do they say, mirage of the Chicago skyline from beyond the reified sphere-edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve. That's what they have to
Okay,
display.
Which we
I-
debunked.
I
Which
remember
we
the way
debunked
Nathan
with the
puts it now.
Black
He puts it in
Swan.
the way. He puts it in a way where we're basically not making a claim. It's just a default position, right? It's just, yeah.
You're missing the point. The point is there is a claim. There's an extraordinary claim that it's a fucking hologram. We just say Chicago skyline. We say Chicago skyline. There it is, Chicago skyline. That's not a claim. That's stating the obvious
Exactly.
that you see with your eyes. That's no claim needed. Just Chicago skyline. As a flat earther, no claim required. Just I see it, it's there. Because why? Because I can see it. No explanation required. For them, it's there so it needs explaining that you can see it. Well, because it shouldn't be there. What do you mean it shouldn't be there? I'm looking at it. Well, it shouldn't be there. It's behind Earth curve. No, it isn't. I can see it. No, what you can see is a hologram. What do you mean it's a hologram? Well, it's a mirage. What do you mean it's a mirage? Well, you're not actually seeing what you're seeing. You're seeing it refracted up from behind the Earth curve that you can't see. Oh, really? So you're justifying why I'm seeing something that I can't see when I can see it? Yeah, that's right. That's what they have to do. It's nonsense.
It's like when you say to someone at a sporting event, did you just see that? You don't say, did you just believe that? No, you might say,
Did you see that? I believe he got a touchdown. No,
Yes, now
he
you
got
might-
a touchdown.
well, hang on. People say, did you just see that? I can't believe it. They put the word can't in front of it because there's one.
Sorry, I ruined your punchline.
Oh, that's all right. No.
Ruined his punchline. We ruined the entire flow of the Discord conversation that they were having before we got here.
You know what, Nathan? If you don't want me on the show no more, kick me out.
Did you just see that?
Tell him
Can't
off.
believe it.
Go on, Rams.
Ram said, I can't believe it.
Hold on. Can you hear me? Kent, can you hear me?
We'll hear you.
You said-
Everything's fine. Why would you think we couldn't?
Okay, no, here's the problem. I'm hearing you clear, perfectly through the whole thing. But sometimes when I talk, you're saying I'm roboting. So that's the crazy thing that's going on. So what I'll do is I'll just go on mute.
Okie dokie. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, you were fine there, Neil. Don't worry about it.
Meanwhile, back at the farm, Neil has no patch to continue working. So I'm walking around making believe I'm working.
Hey, I'm working here.
I'm working here.
That line was ad-libbed, you know. They had to time the shot to get him to be at a point in the dialogue where he was crossing the road and it was all clear. But then a taxi driver just ran a light and got in front of the shot. So he slams, Dustin Hoffman slams the hood and goes, I'm walking here. But that was completely ad-libbed.
Great. Some of the best lines are ad-libbed.
Not in New York. It happens all the time.
He said he almost broke character and told the taxi driver, look, we're filming something here. But then he realised that would ruin the whole shot, so he just carried on, kept in character.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, the whole scene from Goodfellas is ad-libbed. That whole scene, like,
You guys-
usual, that's all ad-libbed.
Neil, you seen Wolfie 2020's video?
No.
I have not.
It doesn't boil your blood.
I don't watch Wolfie
I have
20,
not seen
whatever
it.
he's called.
Explain.
Well, he put out a $500 challenge asking flat earthers to actually show how you would achieve the adjacent distance from the GP to you, not using the sphere.
What?
Hardy har har. Hardy har har.
Say that again. Not using the sphere. What are you talking about?
He
We don't use
said,
the sphere.
figure out the distance from you to the GP or triangulate your position not using a sphere or a sphere math or the radius of the earth.
Talking about? You just use the star chart. What's he talking about? I
Right.
don't follow. Tenth, do you know what he's talking about?
They're trying to stay away
That-
from 90. They can't get 90 on the surface, so I don't know what he's talking about.
No. What everyone on the internet, which is how I even found out this video existed, they're forgetting the fact that you use the star chart. They're like, okay, take the angle and then tell me how you get the distance.
They're not understanding that everything that they get is on a flat surface. They still think they're getting it on a sphere.
I still don't follow what he's asking. How do I do it without a sphere? None of the process involves a sphere. What is he talking about? We just pick any show.
Exactly.
At what point did we talk about needing a sphere?
How are you even getting a GP without a star?
GP is the position below the star.
Yeah, the star that you've chosen, right?
Yeah. And you look up where its position is above the land. That's how you get your position. Where is it at this particular moment in time? The navigational star, that is.
Yeah, they're admitting the almanac or they just don't know. Like I don't know. I don't look.
That goes
I
back.
don't know.
Eli, it goes back to the sextant is just an angle measuring device and it works with a right angle from the GP to the observer. So what do you need? You need an adjacent, you need a flat baseline. That is your distance that eventually has to be calculated. Using a star above in the sky, it's an angular thing. And they're saying, we're going to use this sextant, an angle measuring device on a sphere. You see, no, we're going to hold them to that. You can't use an angle measuring device on a sphere, not surface. You can have that boat with a triangle sticking out in space.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Brian's Logic, Neil, 10th Man, Eli, Righteous Force, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone.
What's up with Neil? He's all giddy.
Good morning.
Well, that's very enthusiastic of you all. Good to know that we all got warmed up for the last 10-15 minutes talking about Flat Earth and stuff. Let's try that again. Let's pretend we didn't just go live. So we are joined by... Did I mention Brian's Logic? Hey, Brian.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, you did mention me. Yeah, I said hello. How are things?
Very well, very well. Good to have you. Good to have you all.
And happy to be on.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Sorry,
Thank
I'm a
you.
little flat today.
A little flat. I'm always in a little flat.
Why does Brian get a private hello?
There's no favourites here, Neil.
Okay, so yesterday we semi-officially launched a new housekeeping question. That would be any evidence that you can have a curved adjacent whilst acquiring an elevation angle. So, let's ask it in earnest. Any evidence that you can have a curved adjacent when acquiring an elevation angle?
No, unless a Glober wants to come on and tell us how.
You can't have a curved adjacent when measuring an elevation angle. You'd need a flat plane and a straight, flat baseline for that.
Even if you redefine... Sorry.
Before you calculate anything, the first thing you need to do is take your measurements on the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, flat, straight baseline. Before you beg the question in this instance with this example, with this housekeeping question, for any responders that might surface eventually, let's just say that, probably won't, then you get to beg the question only after you've assumed Earth's flat. It's such a great flat Earth proof, because for your average normie that might end up utilising this tool, then they're not going to find that the opponent's suddenly into justifying how they've got a sphere when they beg the question. They've got to actually make an angle measurement first on the surface of Earth, and it's going to be flat when they do so. Great flat Earth proof. I love this. The sextant's wonderful. It's the age of the sextant. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
Any evidence you can have a curved adjacent when acquiring an elevation angle?
Not really, is there? It require you to break the laws of geometry.
Quiet.
No, I was discussing earlier that Wolfie put a challenge out there for $500 for any flat earther with a boat who wants to triangulate their position and find the value of the adjacent. So
What?
Exactly. That's what, when I first said it, I'm like, showed that you don't need a sphere Earth when you're calculating the value of the adjacent, which would be the straight flat line to the GP of the star. Well, that's a straight flat line to the GP of the star. What part of this isn't he getting? When in that process do you need a sphere?
Who knows? Who knows?
You know why they go to the center of their presupposed sphere for all their angles is because you can't get a 90-degree angle on a curved surface.
Yep. That sums up that housekeeping question. So for any of you who are uninitiated, which you won't be because it's a brand new question as of yesterday, pay attention to the last 3 minutes and you'll understand how that argument falls apart. Wolfie, my friend, how do you get an angle on a curved adjacent? You don't. So the tool's going to annihilate your assumptions of spheres.
How do you get a center of the Earth? How do you get that without a radius?
And how do you
Black Swan
utilise
killed
it
that.
when the angle you're measuring is measured on the surface? It's not measured at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth after you beg the question and have got your angle from the flat surface that you're going to be needing to measure an angle. That's two straight lines. I don't know. This Wolfie nonsense seems dead on arrival to me. It doesn't even seem to make sense. How do you need a sphere? You don't. Just listen to any show from the last, 3 months? Is he kidding? You show me where we did issue a sphere. Moving on. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature, otherwise known as a tangent point? None.
Any globe earthers in the Discord want to answer that?
Don't see any new names, unless Sam H is new, although I don't think he is. Just a no will do, and we'll move on. There's no evidence.
No, we're
I
just
just unmuted
patient.
him.
That's it. I need 4 of you to say no.
No,
No Earth curve. That's shocking. Any newbies watching? Wouldn't you be outraged if you were a globe-believing fundy? We're saying no evidence of Earth curve. None whatsoever.
Well, that-
0.
that would be the arc, right? But we don't see an arc. So, and 90-degree in the right angle triangle from the GP of a star can't work on an arc anyway. So, yeah, no Earth curve to be found.
Any evidence
Hello.
of... Hey, Arwin. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
We don't expect to see Coriolis deviation.
That's good to know. Welcome to non-rotational Earth.
Or it could still be spinning in our minds.
That's right. You can still be spinning in your mind, Arwin. However...
My mind's spinning a bit, Owen.
Huh?
I just caught the end of your stream and you dressed, I don't know. Have you joined the clan or are you a druid or what's going off? I just saw a picture with you.
Sit your camera on. Sit your camera on. Let's have a look at you.
No, I don't have it on me right now. I already took it off. It's just my white cloak. I think I put it on before.
Cloak? Did I hear cloak?
Yes. With blue and gold ribbons on it.
Hands up here who's
I'm
got a cloak.
sharing it now.
Anybody else got a cloak? There we go.
Yeah, it's about,
Ah, that's a
it's about-
hoodie. That's just a hoodie. Come on.
my
Not
clock,
really.
my
Well, you'll
clock
get-
is 7 minutes past 6.
You getting? Looks like he's getting ready for boxing.
What?
Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun,
you-
dun, 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 dun. No?
No, you got it all wrong.
Thanks.
Come on, if you're gonna hum it right. Yo, Adrian!
I didn't necessarily associate it with that, but I've had this thing for like 20 years or something. So
Fascinating stuff. I'm sure it was the highlight of
Maybe a
today's show.
Jedi.
well, my girlfriend at the time made it for me, so it was all good.
Elf skin.
What?
Nothing.
No, it's cloth.
Oh, my bad. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
What is the sun?
Don't know, Neil. I'm sorry.
Light in the sky.
It's a hologram. And saying that triggers ballers a lot.
Okay. Do you want to back that with anything other than it's apparent, which it is?
Well, I rest my case on the lack of evidence of any physical nature, and with only alternative to fall back on, holographic is it?
Not an argument from ignorance fallacy.
Maybe.
Alrighty then. Fallacy's better than nothing, Tim Osman.
According to my son, we show our ignorance by confessing that we don't know what is up in the sky as far as the stars and the sun. At least we're getting an answer from the other side.
Didn't we cover that last week? With an analogy about him walking into a theatre because a loved one had been fallen ill, and he gets mistaken for the surgeon, gets wrapped up in scrubs, and because he's unaware of why that's happening, he just thinks it's normal because he's going to see his aunt in hospital, and then he gets rushed into surgery, and there's a guy with his skull open and his brain exposed, and they go, "Over to you." Does he at that point say, "You know what? I've got this covered. I don't want to seem weak and ignorant. I'm going to have a good poke around in this guy's skull. That's why. Because I'm not ignorant and I'm not weak."
Not only that, the answers that they give are not sufficient. They can't prove them.
Okay. There was a time in the same analogy where people, Adam will know what I'm talking about, used to perform something called trepanning. Now, at the time, if you were well versed with trepanning, you could rattle off the reasons and whys and wherefores and processes that were involved with trepanning. Likewise, you can rattle off what is claimed to be the sun, moon, stars, and all the luminaries. So, knowing rhetoric doesn't make you right.
I don't know. There's a few ballers who could do with a hole in the head to let out some evil spirits, mate. It's
Trepanning that Adam's just detailed, putting a hole in your head to let out spirits, putting a silver coin in the hole. That's what they used to do.
Creepy?
Yeah, creepy. Well, lots of the kings and queens of old used to have this procedure done, some of them repeatedly. They had heads like Swiss cheese. You wouldn't believe some of the it just beggars belief, but this is something that has happened in history. So if you're well versed in trepanning, or let's think of something a bit more tame that's a bit less gross, like the Rorschach test. Yeah? Open up an ink blot, ask somebody what they see, and it's supposed to release your hidden intentions. Oh, what a load of quackery. It's completely discredited now, but being a complete expert in the Rorschach test and how it's supposed to be applied and what's the process and how you use it, does that mean that that's right? Just because you know what someone else has told you about it and it happens to be utilised in some means or another? No, it doesn't, unfortunately. That's just rhetoric. So no distance to the sun. Go on, Neil.
The practice of early medicine is pretty scary.
Well, they still have that with the lie detector test, but that's not admissible in court for a reason.
No, that's slightly different. So yes, in one way, you're 100% correct. There is no lie detector test. There's no means of reading the squiggles that are printed out when they're reading your heart rate and sweat glands and how puckered your asshole is while you're being asked a few awkward questions. The polygrapher is a skilled psychologist, and they're the lie detector. The questions that are being asked and the reactions that the person literally gives off there and then when they're asked awkward questions is what the person who's operating the polygraph machine is looking for. It's the operator that has the skill. It's the operator. It's just a what do they call it in movie terminology? I've forgotten the name for it. There's a name for like a set piece of prop that's not really integral to the plot, like the briefcase that opens up and has got a gold lamp in it in Pulp Fiction. There's a terminology for that. I've forgotten what it's called. But like a piece of narrative that isn't important. It's just to misdirect your focus.
MacGuffin?
MacGuffin. It's a MacGuffin. Exactly. The lie detector itself, the polygraph machine, is a MacGuffin. The guy sat in front of you
Hold on.
asking the question is looking at how you react when they say, "Did you kill her?" And you go,
Well, that's like the body language.
"Yeah,"
There's
but that's
there's
precisely
people
what
that
it is.
specialize in body language.
Yeah,
But not
so-
everyone's the same, so it's inadmissible in court, and it's no different than drilling holes in the head, really.
Well, no, it's no different in terms of your body language expert analysing an interrogation by a police officer when it's all, under oath and not under oath. What's the one under Miranda rights? I forgot what the term is. But anyway, the point is that when you assess how somebody's reacted when they've said, "No, I didn't kill her," versus, "I told you already, I wasn't there. I was with my Auntie Susan, and me and her went to the shops, and then at 12 o'clock we went to this and that." And the body language expert says that wasn't a firm, strong denial. They're shifting uncomfortably in their seat. Personally, I think they're lying. You should go in and ask these questions to see if you can get a confession. That's what a polygraph operator would do.
But see, that's why people are in prison now that didn't commit crimes, because there is no science to it.
No, I agree. You're asking somebody who's reading body language for their opinion, and that's all they can offer. Is the person lying or not, in your opinion? And if you don't think they're lying, it doesn't mean that they aren't just exceptionally good liars. If you want to get a better idea of this, just so you know how this is applied, this is interrogation. So I said the other day I'm interested in the criminal psychology thing. That's just my tip at the moment. So if you want to get a better idea of this, watch the Behaviour Panel. So check it out. It's an exceptionally good YouTube channel for ex-interrogators. Some of them are army, some of them are working with the aristocracy. These are very well-versed guys in this discipline. And they're telling you, after watching like a guy stroll up to somebody on their doorstep after their son or daughter's gone missing, they shove a camera in their face, this is a reporter, and just ask them a few questions. Do you know where your wife is? And they will then look over those tapes and assess their body language based on how they react to certain questions. And they just give their opinion. Absolutely not admissible as evidence, because it isn't. It's a body language expert's opinion on whether or not somebody, in their opinion, is lying or not. Doesn't mean they are, doesn't mean they aren't. It's just a useful tool. That's all it is. So, but the whole point of this is the polygraph machine itself. I don't know how we got on this. I don't remember what the last question was, housekeeping-wise. Is a MacGuffin. It's not a real tool. You're not going to actually look at something on that graph and say, "Yeah, lying." It doesn't work like that. What question was that in response to?
It was in response to Neil's son we got to, because I was just going to add we're kind of being faulted, Neil, as far as I can see, for having some intellectual honesty and not bullshitting, not just providing a just so story to appear intelligent. It's an admission of knowing what you don't know. So it's an odd thing to try and strengthen your hand, in the case of somebody retorting like that with just because you're prepared to admit that you don't know past this point, means you're wrong. Especially when he's validating with stuff or giving just so stories to validate his side of things, and I assume he probably will admit the moon landings are fake, etc., etc. So it seems a naive position to hold, or a false position to hold. It's a kind of burden of reviews or an ignoring.
Deck one deck.
No, he doesn't answer me when I do say we don't know because we can't validate anything. We can't get there, and neither can your side. He doesn't say anything to that, so he knows that he can't. But he's just believing the rhetoric.
It's a bit cog-dissy, isn't it? Because he's searching for an excuse to stay in his paradigm, and he's using a weak point like, well, you admit that you don't know what's up there. So if you don't know it, I don't have to change my paradigm. It's
okay. Let's use the law example again. So if you're in defence of a client as a lawyer, all you've got to prove is that they didn't do the crime that they're accused of. That's it. They've got to show that they didn't do it. It's not up to them to provide an alternative body to put on the stand to have up against the wall for the same crime. If they can demonstrate that their client was nowhere near the scene with 3 witnesses that put them somewhere else that would make it impossible to commit the crime, that would be the job of the defence lawyer to provide that. At no point will they go, well, who did it then? No, they might, and on the prosecution side, demand that they provide an alternative, but it would be fallacious. It's not up to the defence to prove the prosecutor's case against somebody else. It's their job to prove them wrong. Now, if you prove that they're wrong, you don't say, well, we're still going to prosecute you anyway because you haven't got an explanation for who actually did do this. So therefore, what we're left with is you still. Because our explanation for how you did it, regardless of you proving how wrong it was with you somewhere else completely, we've still got our story for how you did do it. And in absence of some other story that puts someone else at the scene of the crime, we're still going to prosecute you because we haven't got an alternative. So your son is in the stand, falsely accused of crime, and he gives his story for how he wasn't there, and they say to him, well, you weakling, you haven't got an alternative explanation for who did commit this crime that you weren't in any way aware of because you weren't anywhere near it, so you couldn't know who did it because you weren't anywhere near it. But you're not going to give us an alternative explanation for who did do it? Going to jail. As if. Yeah, it's not up to... Refutation does not require a replacement. One deck. Can you help? Can I help? Causing a load of feedback. One deck. Yeah. Hello. Can you say hello? Can you acknowledge us? One deck.
I'm just trying to get in, Nathan. I'm having a bit of...
Okay. Thank you for replying. Let's move on. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Oh, there was somebody in my chat that kept on whining about that. He said that you had to reformulate the housekeeping question, but it was all nonsensical. Because he said, oh, you can temporarily create a vacuum next to gas pressure.
You need a container to create a vacuum.
How?
Anto 2266. Did you have something you wanted to add?
And can you guys hear me? I've never used Discord before, so I'm trying to make sure that I can contribute here.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Oh, perfect. I would say I'm a Glober, and I would definitely would love to be able to learn more about your perspective. But I am a product of our school system, and I've only studied the issue of the a vacuum without a container from a perspective of a flat Earth, and I do truly believe that you are mistaken on the premise, and I would love to be able to present a few points if you have me respectfully, and if I'm wrong, then I'll go back to the drawing board. But I would love to be able to, I'm going to use the word debunk, that we need a container in the context of Earth and outer space.
Sorry, in the context of Earth and outer space, would assume that we have outer space to begin with, though, so that would be begging the question, would it not?
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that I understood your question. You're saying that we do not have outer space?
Our question is, how can you have gas pressure without a container? And you're saying, in response to that, in the context of outer space, so that's an automatic... Just while I'm chatting, Anto, is that how you say it, Anto?
Yes, it's like Anton with at the end, yes.
Gotcha. Just when you're listening, if you can pop yourself on mute just so we don't get feedback. I don't know if you can find the button. Just when you want to talk, come off it, and when you're listening, just pop your... That's perfect. So we asked the question, how can you have gas pressure without a container? And then your response is, within the context of outer space, I can explain how you're wrong. Well, ours is a question of how you could have gas pressure without a container, and your response is to automatically assume that we do have outer space. So I'm saying that's a begging the question fallacy, because you're automatically assuming the very thing that you're going to be trying to prove, which is that we've got a sky vacuum. So you're assuming it within your statement by saying, in the context of Earth and outer space. So assuming we've got an Earth in outer space, that's begging the question. Do you follow?
Yes, your premise would be correct. So I'll do this, and I have a few notes, and if you allow me, let me change then the perspective of at least what I'd like to propose. So so the question on the conversation is why Earth atmosphere, and this is what I'm proposing, does not get sucked into outer space. That is my premise. So let me try to change that premise.
I just before you,
Earth
yeah,
atmosphere does not get sucked into outer space.
Yeah. So assuming outer space is real, the premise that you're trying to prove, that's begging the question, and assuming we have sphere-shaped air in a sphere shape. You said atmosphere. So you're assuming that gas takes the shape of a sphere arbitrarily? That's not what gas does. So assuming space and assuming sphere-shaped air, you're going to go on from there, are you?
I still believe that the way that you're framing the question is a little different than what I'm trying to present. But I do see your point of view.
Stop. I'm not presenting anything. You just presented it to me, and I've just repeated back what you've said. So I'm not framing anything other than what you said. Atmosphere, you said. That would be atmo, air, sphere. What part of that isn't what you said? That is what you said. So you are assuming, I absolutely assure you, this isn't my statement or my framing, it's what you said. That sphere-shaped air, atmosphere, that's what you've assumed. You've also assumed atmosphere in space. And then asked the question, when you've assumed the very thing you're trying to prove, that's a sky vacuum, why doesn't it do these things when I assume these two things are true? So you've got two problems, that you've assumed sphere-shaped air and you've assumed sky vacuum already before you've done anything. Two begging the question fallacy so far.
Okay, so I consent. I concede to the assumption. So allow me to go back. Again, I'm not a professional debater. I'm just somebody who likes science. So going back, so air. Forget that it is a sphere. I just wanted to present what I would call gas dynamics in a very simple way, and the way that the environment in which we live, it is affected by what we do in the way the gas reacts to gravity and pressure, and I think I can make a case if I can get past. So don't assume. Let us not assume that there's a sphere.
Okay. What about gravity?
Want to be able to
what's
prove.
that?
I just want to be able.
Sure. What's gravity?
So first of all, we do not know why gravity is it happens, but back in the old times, and again that's
not what I asked. What is it? Why it happens? What is that thing that's happening?
Based on Newton, there's a force equation to gravity, but
that's
if
incorrect.
You come to the present,
sorry, that's
gravity...
incorrect. Do you want to just stop a second, Anto? According to Newton, that was superseded 106, almost 107 years ago. Did you not know that?
Yes, gravity today is a bending of space and time.
Right, so why are you telling us what Newton said? I don't get it. You're telling us about something that's 107 years out of date for your argument? Why are you mentioning Newton? It's been superseded. It's not a force, as you just stated. According to Newton, it's a force, but that's been superseded by bending space-time. That's correct. So let's not talk about forces of gravity, because it's not a force. End quote. Excellent. End quote, George Musa. Not really a force at all, end quote, Prof. Brian Cox. So we're not going to be claiming we've got a force to worry about. So when you said the thing it does, what is that exactly? What is gravity?
Exactly. Gravity actually, again, as you mentioned, is the bending on space and time based on the mass.
I see. What's time? Stop. What's time? Hello? Bending of space and time, you said. What's time? Is it something that we can bend?
No, it's...
Sorry, stop!
Based on...
Stop! You said we're bending space and time. I asked what time is, and if we can bend it, and you say no. So we're not bending time then? What are you talking about? What is this nonsense? So gravity, not a force. It's not time bending, because we can't do that. So when you said we're going to concern ourselves with what it is, what is it then? Well, it's not bending space-time. That's a concept. And it's not a force. So we're still at the stage where I say, what's gravity? It's not anything at this stage because it's not a concept. It's time bending because you can't do that, and it's not a force that was replaced, superseded 107 years ago. We all clear on what gravity isn't? You're still yet to tell us what it is.
And you're right. Science admits that we do not know why gravity exists. We just know that it does.
What is it?
We are able
Don't
to
tell me that it exists. Tell me what it is. You haven't told me what it is
But
yet.
that-
It's not a
that's
force. Let's summarise
No,
again. Don't tell me what it is and how it exists when I've just told you what it isn't. It's not a force. 107 years out of date. It's not bending time because that's a concept. Can't bend time. You said no. So when you tell me, well, it's just something that exists, what the hell is it? You're still yet to tell us.
That is not what I came prepared to talk to you about what gravity is.
Oh, I
don't know
see.
what
You
want
needed me. Did you need me to think of it as a force, perhaps?
I mean, I mean, this is not what I came ready to talk to you about
I
gravity.
heard you the first time. I
I
said, would it be easier if I thought of it as a force that we don't encounter and was replaced 107 years ago? Would that be easier?
when it comes to smaller masses, I mean, the force
Mass?
equation and
Mass?
it's fairly
Sorry,
accurate.
sorry. Mass? What's that? Mass? What's that? You want to define that? Mass? What is that?
It's the ability to mass based on their size to actually attract other objects. So there's a
mass?
relative.
Hello? What is mass?
I'm here.
What is mass? Do you want to define mass for us?
I am not a scientist. I don't know exactly what.
Why are you using it then?
mass-
What? Sorry. Why are you using that word then? If you don't know what it means, why are you using it? Telling us about the mass and how it's going to affect us. Why don't you know what it means? You're the one telling us
Yeah,
about it.
Hold on a second. You asked me questions that have nothing to do what I wanted to talk to you about. And
Oh,
then
really? Oh, really? So when I say what's
why don't
gravity
you
and
let
you
me-
start talking about what mass is, and I ask you what mass is, you claim it's nothing to do with what you're talking about when you use the word mass and I asked you to define it. That is absolutely what you are talking about. You use that word. You said mass, did you not?
So may
Hello?
I actually go?
Just
back
listen to the words. You said mass.
I said math. Yes. I
Right,
said
so
math.
stop. So don't accuse me of making up stuff that isn't anything you've talked about when I ask you to define a word you have used. You just need to define it. And if you can't, yeah, because you're not a scientist, then don't use those words that you don't understand. Okay? It's simple.
Okay.
Don't then tell me that I'm doing something wrong when I've simply asked you to define a word you used. We clear?
You're clear.
Good. So what's mass? You don't know because you're not a scientist. Okay. So stop
don't know.
talking. I'm summarising your complete lack of understanding of your own claim at this point. You've claimed that we've got to account for mass when we describe how we're going to have gas pressure not filling containment that it's got when we haven't got it. That's what you're trying to do. You've said we're going to have to worry about gravity. Yeah, we are not going to worry about gravity and bending concepts or mass attracting mass because that's been superseded 107 years ago. And mass itself is undefined by you, the one making the claim, who's now telling me that I'm getting you to talk about things you're not talking about. No, you said mass and then claimed you don't need to know what it is because you're not a scientist. I doubt you know what science even is. So, gas pressure without a container. How can you have it?
All right. If I could, there are 3 simple rules that we were taught in school. I'm going to say, imagine atoms flying through empty space unimpeded. That is one rule. And for example, there's no friction and no air resistance present because atoms in this case are the air that we know as air. So that's rule number 1. Atoms, in this case air, because that's the case that we're trying to talk about, fly through empty space unimpeded. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, atoms bounce off of each other based on conservation of momentum and energy. So they are moving through space, they bounce off of each other, and but they are really bounce off of each other based on conservation of momentum and energy. Imagine billiard balls bouncing off of each other until the momentum and the energy dissipates. So that's rule number 2.
Wrong.
Gotta
Stop.
stop
Number
there.
three.
We've got to
Stop.
there.
Go ahead,
That's
Adam. You got there before I did. Go ahead, Adam.
wholly incorrect, sir. So your understanding of gas behavior is just you've just made a statement that's opposite to gas behavior with regards to, I think you used the phrase conservation of, was it momentum?
Yeah, conservation of momentum and energy.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
That's not how we describe gas molecules, is it?
I'm not describing a gas molecule. I'm just stating a
You were
rule that atoms, in this case, I'm using the example of air, they bounce
Yes, which
of
is a
each
gas.
other until the energy dissipates, and they always move
That's the
in
point I'm
parabolic
challenging you on. You're
We heard.
saying when gas molecules collide, they dissipate in their energy. That's incorrect. Collisions within gas molecules, are not, they're elastic. There is no change. There is no overall change within the system. Might be a temperature adjustment, but within the system, there is no change.
Mhm.
So that fundamental premise
And
that
maybe
you're
I
gonna work
misunderstood. Maybe
on
I
is,
misspoke. The example that I said, when you hit billiard balls and they bounce off each other, eventually that momentum will slow down, right?
Yeah, but they're not
They
gas.
will come to a stop.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
and that's the
They're not gas.
opposition. That's the complete point. That's the point I'm making. The analogy you're using is in complete contradiction to gas behavior. Those gas molecules are never going to slow down. They're never going to bang together and lose energy by making sound, for example, are they? So it's described as kinetic energy and it's described as elastic. You might want to look at that, and that'll then explain to you why what you're saying is in opposition to physics.
I just want to say very quickly, the only thing, Anto, the only thing that ever slows down the expansion of gas is temperature. Temperature will cause it to expand faster or to expand slower or to contract, let's just say. So it's just the only thing, only temperature.
Okay.
You need to
Yes,
research more.
I think I understand
You need to
exactly
research
how
more of your
temperature.
claims.
Okay. Great. So given that
understand.
they're not going to slow down and then fall to the ground, go down, go boom, boom. Yeah, that's not how gas behaves. Prior to that statement, which has now been corrected, you described gas moving freely through space.
Yeah, the air that we breathe, it's all over around us, and those are what I'm calling as an example atoms of air, and they move. If you move your arms, you're moving the air up, and if nothing else happens affecting that movement, those atoms of the air molecules will go back down in parabolic movement, going back down.
That's wrong. Sorry, so let me get this straight. You think that gas falls down?
The atoms in everything comes back down.
I see.
And I am prepared
stop,
to talk a little bit
stop.
about pressure, but
hello,
yes, everything would come down.
Hello. We heard your claim. You're claiming gas go down, go boom, boom, like solid billiard balls. That's what you're claiming. We heard your claim. So have you ever? You got a window close by? Do you have a window close by?
Yeah, I do.
Can you look out of it for me? Look up at the sky for me. What do you see?
I see air, blue skies. Yes.
Anything in that sky?
Yeah. There's air. There's clouds.
Clouds, and they're falling down. Go boom, boom. Right? Don't seem to be responding. You said that gas goes down, go boom, boom. Now you're responding while I'm talking to you. Now you're responding in the middle of my sentence. Very irritating. You have asserted incorrectly that gas goes down, go boom, boom like balls. Yeah, that's wrong. I've got you to look out your window at a cloud and asked you if it's going down. You still aren't responding to me, and now you're responding in the middle of me telling you off. What is your malfunction? Is the
I'm
cloud
sorry, I thought
going...
you were asking me a question.
Yeah, because there's a long pause, and then when I say you aren't responding to me, you then start talking. Yeah. Does the cloud fall down like billiard balls?
No, they don't.
No, they don't, do they? No. No, gas isn't falling down and making puddles. No, that's not correct. You are wrong. It's not forming a parabolic manoeuvre like a bloody billiard ball. You're just wrong. So, back to your original statement. Gas moves through space freely, correct?
The air, yes. It's the air, so which I'm calling atoms right now. They are in air, yes. They are the air that we experience.
They move freely through space, yes?
I am not. Space. Are you talking space within our atmosphere?
It's your statement.
Yes,
you said it. They are your words, verbatim. They are your words. That's what you said.
Yes, yes, they move through.
Don't
space,
need you to
up
carry
and
on
down,
babbling. You just need to say yes and then shut your mouth. Do you not understand? I'm repeating your words back to you verbatim. All you need to do is say yes. Not suddenly have an issue with your own bloody words that I'm repeating verbatim. So, gas moves freely through space. End quote.
Yes.
You. Yes is what you need to say. Then you need to shut your mouth. Do I need to quote you again? For the third time? I'm going to quote you again, Anto. Gas moves freely through space. End quote, Anto. Yes?
Yes, and based on...
So then shut your mouth! So gas would fill space! Space is fake as fuck. Gas would fill it. Gas moves freely through space. If sky was space, gas would move freely through it. Clear? Are we clear?
Yes, I said yes. We're
so
clear.
we've debunked space then?
So your my claim is that atoms fall down.
Sorry, your claim was gas moves freely through space, and then I got you to look at a cloud and gas wasn't going down, go boom boom to form puddles, you circle-jerking idiot. No, I know your claim was gas takes a parabolic manoeuvre. That would mean it goes down, go boom boom, and forms puddles. Then I got you to look at a cloud, didn't I, Anto? It's not going down, you conceded. Right, so your horse shite nonsense that assume gravity that we've already taken away from you so you can't appeal to it doesn't make gas go down, go boom boom. Meanwhile, as you correctly identify, quote, gas moves freely through space, end quote, you confirmed. Yes. Then you try and babble through the devastating conclusion with your own words that debunks space. Yes, Nathan, that's right. My own words debunk space and gas isn't going down, go boom boom to help me. Hello?
May I speak now?
What, maybe you can reaffirm that you haven't got gas going down, go boom boom, and that gas does indeed fill space and move freely through it. That's what it does. Elastic collisions, not down, go boom boom. I'm annoyed at you because you repeated the same crap that gas was going down after we took it apart for you. That's why I'm irritated. Do you understand why I'm irritated, given that you've repeated that gas go down, go boom boom?
I don't need to understand why you're irritated. I'm just trying to continue to learn and have a conversation, but...
Really? Learning isn't repeating something that we've explained to you isn't the case. You've looked at a cloud, you've confirmed it's not going down, you understand that gas is going to fill the availability of volume, it moves freely through space, end quote. So you understand this, but then you went on for a second attempt to chant your fundamentalist zealot religious belief at me that gas goes down. That is why I'm irritated. I know you're not concerned with why I'm irritated. I'm now telling you that your repetition of something that we pointed out by getting you to look at a cloud isn't happening is irritating. Don't tell me gas goes down, go boom boom to form puddles. It doesn't. So asserting it for a third time will really piss me off. Clear? So, gas filling space. How can you have gas pressure, Anto, without a container? So far, not so good.
I could try to answer that one. So it's in the way that we were taught in school that gravity brings everything coming down.
Hello, you stupid
Hey,
shit.
listen.
Hello. We already dealt with this. We told you what gravity is and isn't. It's not bending concepts of space-time, and it's not mass attracting mass. We already dealt with this. Why are you telling us your little childhood history? We don't care about your stupid childhood history. We've already told you what gravity isn't. You think telling us what you learned at school is going to help you? You told us you were here to show gas pressure without a container. I don't give a crap about your school. Shut up! Shut up!
You would have.
Oi!
You would have.
You stupid moron! Shut your dumb mouth! Shut up! Shut your stupid mouth! Shut up! What part shut up don't you understand? You chanting zealot fuckwit fundy. Is that what you're going to do? Chant through me while I tell you off? I don't want to hear you, child. That means shut up.
You're a very disrespectful person.
You stupid twat. You have just told me about your childhood history like I give a shit. This show is about the nature of reality, not your childhood history.
Okay. And you asked me why is it that I believe that we don't need a container, right?
Yeah, and you appealed to your childhood education about gravity. We have already taken apart that crap. Don't appeal to it again.
Well, I'll say the reason why we do not need a container is because I'm going back to my premise, the air, right? The invisible air that we
You say
breathe.
gas go down, go boom boom, you are going to get me ripping your asshole through your throat, mate.
Wow.
If you say gas go down, go boom boom for a third time, you've just told me already you're going to appeal to your original premise while you chant through the middle of me, objecting to something we've already taken apart. You feel that while I object to something we've already taken apart, that somehow that's your reasonable justification to still be talking through the middle of me. Yet you've already told me you're going to already appeal to gas go down, go boom boom for a third time, right?
All I wanted to say is that for anything, for us to need a container, which we don't, it is just, again, to deny that because the things on Earth where we are and go up or down, and everything that goes up must come down.
No, it fucking doesn't. Are you deaf? Are you really this deaf? Gas doesn't go... Sorry, what goes up must come down. So the cloud has gone up. Hello, stop talking. Stop talking. Hello, chanting, fundy religious zealot. Can you stop chanting? We've already taken you through this. I got you to look through a window when we were calmly discussing stuff before you became a prick, an unreasonable prick who chants his fundy zealot religious belief through me after we've already taken it apart. You decide that you're going to chant it through the middle of the third objection to the same thing. What goes up must come down doesn't apply to gas. I've got you to look at a cloud and ask you if it's going down. It's gone up. You've just said what goes up must come down. So the cloud's going down. No, it isn't. You've already conceded this. You're becoming a religious zealot, and you are chanting the same thing that we've already taken apart, straight through the middle of the objections to you chanting something that we've already taken apart. No, mate, gas doesn't go up and then come down again. It expands to fill the volume. That's gas behaviour. It's not the same as billiard balls. Your misapprehensions aren't tolerable. Don't tell me that you're here to learn when you're repeating something we've educated you on already. You ignorant prick. Comprende? Prick? Ignorant, unreasonable prick?
And your only justification for these ideas is your so-called childhood education.
Correct.
Where Anto is wrong is that all the effects he's trying to attribute to gravity are all due to temperature. And what he's calling gas going down, going boom, boom, basically, and what goes up must come down. He's just detailing convection. So everything he's talking about is about temperature. Anto, you cannot have gas pressure, temperature, or a vacuum, for that matter, without a container. There are physics impossibilities. You're wrong. Yeah, and your education was wrong. That's why Nathan is angry at you, because you keep on going back to this education that was completely wrong.
Wholly wrong, Brian. That's the only point. I interrupted him where he shared his knowledge of gas behaviour and elastic collisions, or inelastic as he was describing them. So if if he's going to keep referring to it, he needs to at least recognise that this education he had is actually incorrect if he goes and looks in a physics textbook right now.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm angry. So,
No, go. Go,
Go on,
Eli.
Eli.
Go, Eli. Go.
Went inside a tunnel, probably in the train.
By the way, thank you for your perspective. Even if my childhood education is incorrect, nobody grasps new concepts in the in the flip of a coin when somebody else is yelling at you and insulting you. But it's my first time ever actually talking to so-called flat earthers. But I have to admit that.
Thank you for that.
Your treatment is
well, I'll apologise to you. The reason I get so short with you is because typically with anybody who comes here to present their globe faith to us, they will do what you have done multiple times, sometimes in excess of 100 repetitions of the same thing that we have disproven. Now, you only did it 2 or 3, but my temper's short when it comes to people chanting at me that gas go down, go boom, boom. It's absurd. So when we get them to look at the gas and what it's doing, and they describe to me how it's not going down, and then 3 minutes later tell me it is going down because I just believe my original premise that's been demonstrated wrong, well, okay. How can you say that you're here to be educated if you're telling me I'm wrong after I've shown you to be wrong? I don't get that. You're saying, I don't get it in the drop of a hat. Well, drop of what? The gas?
I would go back and I would try to understand the gas dynamics of clouds and see exactly where I didn't think about that.
Gas behavior. It's just that's how gas behaves. Do you know what PV equals nRT is?
Yeah. And even if I'm wrong, I was hoping to see if somebody could help me understand, because the way that I've learned and the way that I've understood it, it is that for anything, and then I'm going to use the word atmosphere, anything to escape are what we so-called atmosphere. For anything to escape into that perpetual free falling, we would have to have what is called 11,000 kilometers per second to escape. Escape velocity is called. And then you stay on that perpetual free falling. The air molecules that I was referring to coming down by gravity in parabolic motions until the momentum dissipates. As it comes down, obviously there's pressure at the bottom. That's why we can breathe the air when we are high in the sky.
Oh God! Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, it's not like I've heard this for 6 straight years or anything. Yes, thank you for chanting your religious fundamentalist belief in gravity and gas go down, go boom, boom, and orbital motions and escape velocity from the sphere-shaped air. So we've got to have an escape velocity to escape sphere-shaped air. Why is it that air is in a sphere shape and suddenly needs us to go at a certain speed to escape from something that wouldn't be in a sphere, in a vacuum? It would escape itself. You know, you're telling us that we've got to suddenly worry about going past the air that is somehow in a sphere shape. No. Gas doesn't take the shape of a sphere. It fills whatever volume it's got. That's what gas does. It fills the availability of volume. I asked if you understood of PV equals nRT. Have you ever heard that before?
No, I don't remember if I have. I haven't studied that, no.
Standard gas law.
Oh, mic check. I don't know if I could squeeze in here if you guys moved on.
Look up gas law. You're here telling us about high school heliocentric gravity and its behaviour on gas when the rhetoric you were taught, they never mentioned to you at school that it was out of date by 107 years, but yet you're vaguely aware of bending concepts of space-time. But you don't know what gas behaviour is. If you're here to tell us how gas behaviour is, in line with your rudimentary heliocentric understanding of gas behaviour, why haven't you just looked up gas behaviour? I don't understand it. You don't know what PV equals nRT is, but you're here telling us how we can have gas pressure without a container.
I mean, if I may, candidly, the moment that you made me consider the fact that gravity, for example, because I accept gravity as it is.
What is it?
So the moment you
Sorry,
took
stop,
that
stop,
concept
stop, stop,
away,
stop, 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 stop. I asked you what it is. You say, I accept gravity as what it is. I've asked you what it is. You've said it's a force. No, it isn't 107 years out of date. You said it's bending time. No, it isn't. We don't bend concepts. You can't bend time. So when you say you accept gravity for what it is, can you tell me what it is again? Given that we've already done this, and this is extremely irritating to be told that you accept something that I've asked you to define. What is it then? I said, what is gravity? What is it that you accept again? What is it that you accept? Can you tell me what it is that you accept, please?
No. Again, you're challenging my assumptions, but what I'm saying is that I had accepted gravity as I was taught it was. So you are making a claim that gravity it is not what we've been taught it is. So
No, hello, no, I'm not. No, I am not. Einstein did that 107 years ago. Why are you saying I've done that? No, Einstein did that. Did you not remember us going through it when I pointed out that Einstein superseded it? And then you told me how he superseded it, because you seem to be now projecting Einstein superseding Newtonian gravity, so it's not a force anymore. That's not me.
So, well, let me allow me to explain from my understanding of Einstein perspective as well, since we are there. I just want to make sure that I understood what you're saying, because you're saying that we cannot bend space-time.
You show me
that's
time?
What you're saying.
No, I'm not saying it. Do you want to show me time? Can you show me that so I can bend it? Maybe I can dilate it. Can you show it me first so I can bend it?
No, I don't know that.
Sorry,
I can.
You said I'm making a claim that we can't do that. No. It's your positive assertion that we can when you say you accept it. That would be gravity. Well, what is it? Bending conceptual mediums is what it is. And you say, well, I'm making a claim that you can't do that. Sorry, do you want to show me you bending time as it's your claim that this is a thing that you accept? Oh, but given that it's a concept we're bending, I definitely am not making a claim about it. I'm ripping apart Einstein's conceptual medium being bent. That's not me debunking mass attracting mass, it's Einstein. And then I'm ripping apart Einstein based on it being a pseudo-Ramonian force space time bending. That's Einstein's nonsense in fourth dimensional space-time that we don't experience and cannot bend. So what is it again, I'll ask for about the fifth time, that you accept when I got annoyed and said, sorry, why is it you're telling me that you just accept it, gravity, when you still haven't told us what it is that you're accepting? Definitely not bending of time. That's not my claim, by the way. It's your nonsense that you believe in it.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, it's a little bit above my head. I go back to I was always taught that gravity is this thing that keeps us down to the ground, and I mean I accepted it on the premise that I don't go flying off a so it's you definitely are have a lot more information and knowledge than I do when it comes to that.
Things do fly up. You're just not lighter than air. If you were lighter than the air, you would fly up, like the clouds. But you're more dense than the air, so you fall through the air. And now if you're about the same density, given that you've got lungs and a lot of water in your body, you can float on water because you're about the same as it.
Yeah, density, yes.
Yeah, that's density that explains that then.
Exactly, I agree.
So not gravity then, just density, how dense things are relative to the medium that they're in.
So if I may ask a question then, because density, I that makes sense. Density is a great answer to that. So right now where we are, the air is dense, right? Because the air molecules are coming down and
are they?
Creating
Oh, stop. Sorry, where, pray tell, are they coming down from? Do you want to tell me which gas factory in the sky is making gas and pouring it down upon us? Can you tell me that, please? I'll give you a shocking clue. There isn't any. That no gas is produced in the sky. That's delusional nonsense that you've just spouted there. Why would gas be produced in the sky? Which gas is produced in the sky? Oh, none of them.
Anto, the only thing that changes a gas's density is temperature. Temperature controls gas. You need a container and temperature. They are the two requirements for the controlment and manipulation of gas.
It's told us it's more
No
dense at
gravity.
ground level because gas is pouring down on us. Sorry, gas is pouring down? Is it? From where? What's producing the gas to pour it down? Go boom boom, like clouds don't do. Gas go down, go boom boom. This is the third time you've asserted this irritating nonsense. That gas is produced in the sky and coming down to make it more dense at the bottom. Correct? So which gas is produced at the top of the sky and poured down on us? Go down, go boom boom into puddles at the ground.
The other gentleman was saying that it is temperature. So if its temperature is cooler at our level, just like when you have your AC in your house, right?
Right, you told us that. Sorry, my friend. What you're doing is you're throwing this crap out. Your religious belief, and when I challenge you on your religious belief and say you've just told us, literally moments earlier. Can someone mute one deck? Or kick him out. It's just causing non-stop chaos every time he comes off mute. Just kick him out. Right. You told us gas go down. That's why it's more dense at the bottom. That's what you told us. Now, my question to you, based on your claim, was which gas pours down upon us? Go down, go boom, boom. Which gas? Because until this is resolved, I've got a live show running.
Yeah. The air we breathe. That was my premise from the get-go.
So you think the air is produced in the sky and poured down out of a jug, down go boom boom? Which gas is produced which air is produced up in the clouds and falls down?
No air is produced in the cloud. The oxygen.
Sorry, my friend. Stop. You just need to just confirm the bit that I'm destroying your argument with. No, air's not produced up top, fall down. So when you said the reason it's thicker or more dense at ground level was because there was gas coming down, that was just complete nonsense then. Let's just clear this up before we move on.
Hold on, Nathan. Did he just say air was produced in the clouds?
No, it's not produced in the clouds. That's the point. He said it was coming down. The reason there's more of it, more dense at ground level, because it's coming down. That's what he said. Now I've said no gas produced in the sky, poured down, go boom boom. No puddles of gas. Gas not going down, go boom boom. So his assertion that he's still yet to say, no, that's just nonsense that I said. He's not conceding. So we're not moving on because he's under the misapprehension third time in a row.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I do concede that the air is not produced in the clouds, and I was using the temperature argument, which is not an argument; it's a fact. So if the temperature of the air is colder where we are at the ground level, is going to be the molecules are going to be closer to each other. It's going to be denser. The pressure is going to increase. So that's all I was saying.
Okay, but ultimately, can I? I will in the after show.
Okay,
Brian, I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry.
So the gas comes from the ground. You appreciate that, and then it makes its way up, right? So that you've got air at the top of Everest and stuff, right? It's come from the ground. That's where it's produced and goes up. Correct?
It's created by the vegetation, and then obviously wind, which is a exchange of temperature called an air, then moves the air molecules or the air atoms all over the place, but never at a speed fast enough that they would be able to. Again, I understand that it's not what you understand, but it then would never be able to escape, as I mentioned earlier, the escape velocity.
Sorry, escape velocity. Sorry, what are you talking about now? Escape velocity. Escaping from. Stop. Escaping from sphere-shaped air.
Yeah, that's what I was taught in school. Yes.
Yeah, air doesn't take sphere shapes. It takes the shape of a container. Volume. Whatever volume it's got, that's the shape of the air. It disperses. It's called entropy. So, gas, so far, I've led you a little bit, not quite far enough for me to round out the live show. So gas is created at ground level and is making its way up to fill available volume. You understand that so far? You said you wanted to be educated. I'm trying really hard to educate you.
That is correct. The vacuum or the space will be filled when the moment you open that door, it's going to seek equilibrium. Yes.
So space is fake, because if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space.
It's not a vacuum out of equilibrium, because again, it's just as long again. if there's no gravity, as I said, you took my argument from the get-go because I have to rethink gravity. But
there is no
but
bending space-time and mass attracting mass replaced 107 years ago. Yeah. We've covered that. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, just need you to concede. So gas made at
Sure.
ground level makes its way up. It fills the availability of space. Correct?
Mhm. That is correct.
So gas fills space, as you said at the beginning of this discussion. Then.
Yeah, it's just now the density of that gas based on altitude. It's different. Yes.
Yeah, it gets less because there's less of it because it's produced at ground level and is dispersing, getting thinner as it goes up. And then we have dynamic systems that could only be achievable if they were contained. Because if they weren't contained, the gas would fill the availability of volume, and your idea of space would mean that we had a vast volume for the gas to fill, and that's what it would do. So space is fake. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill that space.
Yes, in your premise as presented,
Not in my premise, just based on gas behaviour. Not a premise I'm putting forward, gas behaviour.
So if space is fake, what is it? What's in there?
Right, if space is fake, what do you mean if space is fake? Space is fake. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill that space. You understand that, correct?
Yes, that's
excellent. Thank you. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live and you did hit the super chat and I missed it, then I'm really sorry, but I will see if I can shout you out in the after show. As I say, stay tuned. If you are watching on either premiering stream, I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Things. His main problem is that he's pre-assuming a gas pressure within a vacuum. You know what I mean? He keeps on going, but how come space is not there? You can't have gas pressure form within a vacuum. That doesn't happen.
There are 200 people watching. Wow.
Nice.
Is Anto still there, Nathan?
No, I think he's disappeared from the after show. He did get moved into the after show, but I think he's just toddled off. You can blame him.
Well, he might have thought the show was over because you were rounding out. He might have not known of the after show.
I doubt he was very keen on whether or not he was live or not. He said he was here to learn, so who cares if the show's running?
He's here to learn, but he kept trying to teach.
Don't they all?
He's a good example of someone very new to this that just keeps going back to gravity.
He can't quite believe they lied to him at school. That's the bottom line.
Yep, that's what it is. That's definitely what it is.
He's correct in some of the things he's saying, but he's incorrect also, because he's the cause of the effect he keeps on attributing to gravity, something he can't even define. Whereas when he says the air outside his door, when it's cold, the air outside his door is more dense, that's true. And when it's warm, it's less dense. Yeah, that's fine. But what he doesn't understand is temperature is the reason for, when he's saying air comes down, what he's talking about is denser air that has cooled down at high altitudes. That's convection. Warm air rises, it cools down, it comes back down. It's a cycle of displacement that happens due to temperature. This is what convection is. So he's only just detailing convection. But there's a load of actual gas behavior that's caused by temperature that is attributed as the cause of it is attributed to gravity. They just completely ignore the T. So as I said before, they're always doing PV equals nRG. Right? They take the T out and put in a G. They ignore the temperature part. But they'll argue the temperature part. They go, yeah, I know all about that. But then they'll throw back in gravity. Completely ignore the temperature part. He's correct that the air will actually reach low temperatures up high, and there will be less of it, and it will slow down its expansion. Yeah, because it reaches minus 51 degrees at 10 miles up. That's why. It will slow down its expansion. But the whole situation is so much more complicated than what he's told in school, that gravity just makes everything go down, so that's why everything is down. It's like it's nothing to do with this gravity. Gravity does not exist, and he's missing the point of the original question: is how do you have gas pressure without a container? In other words, if you don't have a container, you can't create gas pressure, and you certainly can't create it in a monstrous vacuum that's 10 to the minus 17 torr within their model. This is what he's not understanding. That is impossible. It doesn't happen.
You wouldn't be able to maintain any sort of a system without containment.
Exactly, Rams.
Well, what I was going to say earlier is, bottom line, he said he was here to learn. So the question really is, or was, I don't know if he's still here, are you willing to change what you think you know based on new information being given? If you're not willing to do that, then you're actually not here to learn. And this is why you get the responses you get from people who are frustrated when you tell them that you're here to learn.
Yeah, because it's a blatant lie. When he's got a whole presentation prepared with his begging the question fallacy of orbital mechanics, sphere-shaped air, gravity, atmosphere, he's got the whole begging the question six-pack lined up, ready to blurt out to us in a presentation, but apparently he's here to learn. No, he's not. He was here to educate us and tell us about how gravity works and how gas go down, go boom, boom. And when we point out how it doesn't, he wants to chant it again because he's got it all prepared to tell us. He's not here to learn. They're all liars. They just want to come across as being inoffensive. Oh, I'm here to hear from you.
Where he was wrong.
He's here to hear from us about his claims. That's what he's here to do. In other words, teach us.
But once we take them apart, whether he actually learns from them, from that, is a matter of whether he is honest or not.
But he's not, because when Nathan was done, he said, the way you explain it, yeah, that's the way it makes sense. No, it's not. It's the way it is.
What I got out of this whole thing is, when he was younger, he was forced to learn. He had no say. Now that he's older and he is his own man, he has a say. But he's been so indoctrinated from when he had no say. And now, as a man, he doesn't even know that 107 years ago, the very thing he was forced to believe is no longer believed. So this is his time. This is his awakening, if he chooses it to be. He can learn now on his terms, where he requires the proof and not the indoctrination. It's up to him.
Now, someone was going to bring up
I think that's right.
that he conceded, right? Look, I only really care about concession when, you claim that you're in a debate and you're bringing up points to either be supported or refuted. That's not what happens here, okay? What happened here is someone says they concede, and they also said they're here to learn, but they're not learning anything. At that point, what is the point of telling me you concede? Just gonna make me feel like you're disingenuous.
I'll give a shot at that.
I said he conceded. I said he conceded, and the only reason why I think he did concede is that, just like he just mentioned now, that now he was indoctrinated as a small boy. He's a man now. Now he has his own questions. He came here to learn, but he's basing everything that he knows off of this indoctrination. So the information that you're giving him is going against his indoctrination, which is all he knows And the only way to process it is to give out more of his indoctrination, like gravity. He kept on going back to gravity, 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 because that is the very premise of this indoctrination. He knows nothing else besides that gravity and the way that certain things work. So he's going to revert back to his safety mechanism in saying that. So, like you said again, now it's up to him to take the information that he has been given and process it through through his own indoctrination to see if he will learn and accept. This is where we're at.
And by the way, he did acknowledge
listen
he
to it,
know
agree.
more about the subject than he did. So I mean, it could, one or two things could play out. I mean, he for me in my aspect, it looked like he kind of did felt. I mean, like you was getting the information, and I mean, what he can probably do is probably look more into it. Maybe that's probably what he's gonna do. Either trying to get back to his beliefs or
Yeah,
look for actual truth.
and he did also admit that he wasn't going to change his mind overnight, but that he was curious about the subject, and that
Listen
this
to
was
the
his
end
first
of the
time.
show. Listen to the last thing Nathan said to him, how he responded. Okay? And you'll see he's disingenuous.
No, I don't
What
think
I would
so,
say,
There's nothing. There's nothing to change his mind about, though. Sorry,
No,
but there's
okay.
nothing to change his mind about because he thinks that everything universally goes down. What comes up must go down. Nathan said, "Look out your window." He says, "Yeah, there are clouds there." At this, there's nothing. What else is there?
But when the indoctrination smog is so thick in his head, he knows nothing else but the indoctrination. It's
Well,
like
we were
it's like
all
the
in that
Matrix.
position at
They
one
only know
point,
the
weren't
Matrix.
we?
They don't know that they're actually in a fairy tale freaking place.
Well,
No,
we
we
all
weren't
used
all
to
in that position
believe that way too, right?
because no one challenged it. If someone actually, okay, let me ask you guys, because for me, it was the moment someone questioned my paradigm, I looked into it, right? So what about the rest of you guys?
Same
But
thing.
that's
Yeah, I
that's
did the exact same thing.
yeah,
I questioned
but
everything and I dove into my own research.
when you're all done, let me know. Eli,
Yeah,
you
I'm
are
done. Go
you.
ahead.
You are you, Eli. Don't compare yourself to other people. I don't. This guy was a sponge, and all the wrong teachings got into that sponge. Now he comes on this show. I don't think he's a troll. I think he genuinely realized, oh my gosh, I'm being my rear end handed to me right now. I don't know how else to respond. So the guy who was just talking is right. He just goes back to his programming, and then he gets kicked all over the place again because he can't concede when he's already conceded. He conceded, and then he went back to the thing he conceded again. We have to be patient because he's at this moment where he is waking up, and we can't treat him as a troll because to me it didn't sound like one, especially when Nathan was leading down after each thing, but then he'd go right back to it. It's like, okay, you know what's happening here, right? That indoctrination when you were a sponge as a kid, it's kicking in again. Didn't you just concede to this? Didn't you just say it fills the space? Well, then how could it? Oh, wow, guys, this is too much. Can I come back? I need to sleep over all this. Just let everything go into the right files in my head because I'm overwhelmed at this moment.
Yeah, and
definitely.
which direction he goes from here, it depends how his conversations go with people.
Yeah, I definitely got the same vibe.
That's the problem.
He's been shocked with it.
That's the problem. If other people are going to decide which way he goes instead of just looking at facts and evidence and coming to the reasonable conclusion on his own, then there's no point in pointing anything out to him. If he needs consensus, he'll never get there.
yeah, he's at the point. Sorry, 1 second. I've been trying to get this in for a few minutes, and it's in agreement to what Tent originally said that other people have agreed with. That's where I was going to go as well. He's at that point where his education as Adam put it, has wholly let him down. Right, it's wholly wrong. Right, he came in here to a group of people that he thought wouldn't probably know what they're talking about. He thought we were all mistaken, and he was shown how he was completely wrong. And now he's in a position where he either goes off and looks into things honestly for himself and gets to the point of saying, this gravity, this space is not real. This globe is not real. Or he goes off, he listens to a load of other globe earthers, and he just comes back chanting the same nonsense, just a bit more refined and better at it. Because that's what normally happens. Someone either goes off and then comes back and they've changed their mind, it's not a globe. Or, unfortunately, more often than not, they go off, they listen to a load of other globers on Discord, they come back and they're doing the same thing, but they're just a little bit more arrogant and a little bit more refined about it. They still haven't learned anything, though. They haven't accepted. So it's either one or the other. He's at that tipping point.
Exactly.
Right. He was just presented with that red pill or the blue pill. Now it's up to him to take one and find all the information for himself, or he can come back here and completely erase his mind of gravity and all this. He can ask about it, sure. But when we're presented with 107 years out of date, he needs to accept that because it is a fact. He can't just keep chanting it, but that's again his indoctrination defense mechanism that's biologically implanted in most of these people that are trying to fight off this stuff, where they have this mechanism, and that's what they revert to. They can't get around it.
I'll give a sports analogy to this. I was a wrestler, and when I lost a match, my mind, why did I lose that match? What's going on here? Am I this bad? I mean, that guy pinned me in the first period. What the heck? I thought I was good. And then guess what? It just haunts you because you care. So what you do is you practice more, you learn more moves, you go in the weight room. And the next thing you know, because you cared and made changes, now you go pin that guy. Well, this is his moment. He came here thinking he was ready for a match with all the indoctrination from the school. And then all of a sudden he says, oh my gosh, I've been in the wrong school teaching me the wrong thing. I'm out of shape. I can't compete with these people, but I care. So I'm going to go dig in and figure out the truth. Or I don't care, and he's not going to do it. So it's up to him, just like John said. Can't be consensus. He's got to get there on his own.
I think one of the most important things to learn too is what begging the question is, and identifying when that's happening. Because when you know that, then it saves you so much time and energy when it comes to arguments, because you can spot it early on in almost any and every Glober argument.
Well, I think it's important, Rams, for him to spot when he's doing it and accept that he's doing it and accept the reality that he's doing it, isn't it? Yeah, because that's the difference between us. We spotted when we were begging the question, and that we gave up doing it.
Yeah.
Well, on the begging the question thing, when the claim was that R was being measured, everything after that, I don't think is technically begging the question if you're basing it on a measurement, like if you're calculating pressure, you're not really begging the question, you're basing it on measurement. It's when that no longer is a measurement and you accept that it's no longer a measurement, but you want to use it anyway, I think that really becomes a problem with begging the question.
John, can I repeat what you're saying in the way I heard it? Correct me if I'm wrong. So if they accept R, that the Earth is a sphere, then it's okay to believe in this force that's not a force. But once you can prove there is no R, then you got to toss it out.
What?
Well, not necessarily the force that's not a force.
No. What John's saying is, if you tell, as he was told, in R you trust, and he is under the misapprehension that he has a measurement of R. We can hear you.
Sorry.
That's okay. Did you have something you wanted to add? I was just summarising a point that's been made anyway.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Sorry, no. You keep going. My voice activity on my Discord wasn't working.
Seems good now.
Thanks.
That's okay. Yeah, once you've been told and shown that you can't measure an R value, you don't have a geometric horizon. At that point, Anybody who is under the misapprehension that it's not begging the question because you can measure R, that's where John says, quote, there's a problem. The problem of delusion, because you can't measure R and you can't assume R. Now, typically, nobody's measuring R and didn't, quote the Al-Biruni measurement. Maybe one or two did. I know Rumpus did at one stage during debate. So for him, as an individual, he wasn't. He could say, well, I'm measuring R, until he has to lie about refracting the horizon also, affirming that he couldn't measure R. But he overtly had to lie about that. But John's point is that if you think you can measure R, then it's not reasonable to say you're begging the question, because their premise is based on a measurement being taken. And if you can measure, like we do with triangulation, a flat baseline, well, then you're just measuring a flat baseline. There's no assumption involved. It's not begging the question. You are, in fact, just measuring a straight baseline. And if you are, in fact, utilising a measurement of R, that's not begging the question, according to John. It's a problem when you know it isn't measured. That is R. Go ahead.
Can I give my input? I just got back, so I take the guy was on for a pretty long time. He sounded like just a genuine newbie to me, like not somebody who already knew the arguments and was ready to scattergun us or anything. But
Wrong.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you, Aaron. Sorry to disagree with you, Neil. I didn't expect that to happen. But no, I agree. I think he was just a reasonable guy. That's why I apologised at one stage and saying, look, I'm being hard on you after the second or third repetition of the same point we've ripped apart, because I'm used to fundies chanting it 100 times at me. So, I gave my disclaimers, and I probably was a bit hard on him, considering he did seem like an average normie. And your average normie will go through the same cognitive processes, just to a lesser extreme, than an anti-flat earther. That's why Eli's saying there's a tipping point here. He might go off. Was it Eli that made that point?
But how I noticed was that he inserted more feeling into his conceptions, which means he wasn't all numbed down. He wasn't just waiting to anticipate how to respond to us, which is the typical stance for a veteran anti-flat earther. They don't really have the feelings anymore. They just feel they need to lay it down, but they're only just focusing internally on how we're going to respond. So they don't really care even about the information anymore. Okay. When a genuine newbie has so much feel for it, just like a little kid, right? And that's how I recognize that.
Okay, but when you say you come to learn, when the person starts breaking it down, your mouth is closed and you're paying attention. He was chanting more than one time.
Yeah, but that's the programming. Yeah, that's what a kid does, too. That's how he learned it.
When he said he was coming to learn, what he meant in his own head, he was coming in to learn why people think that the Earth is not a globe, because he knows that it is a globe. And Correct. We all know it's a globe, and science knows it's a globe, right? And science is proving it all the time.
Spot on.
And what he found out is that...
Yes, exactly, Brian. That's absolutely spot on.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so then I take it back then. If that's what he meant, then okay, fine. That's the reason for his chanting. But I understand when I want to learn something and I ask somebody a question, my mouth is closed and I'm listening.
At least he was polite about it.
When you're in the mood.
I wasn't thinking. That was a good point, Brian. I wasn't thinking about it that way. I was just like, you're here to learn. No, you're here to understand why. Like we're even here when everyone knows what they know. That makes me think of it a little different. Thank you.
Me too.
He's here to learn why flat earthers are so stupid and don't understand the Earth's sphere. That's what he's here to learn.
Or he was just genuinely curious as to what is this flat Earth talk all the time? What is that? Because that's what a newbie would respond with if they literally never heard it before, but they just hear mentions of flat Earth in the distance.
I came to when I first heard about it, to be honest.
And it is being talked about.
He came into a mental amateur.
What is this amateur psychology night?
Yeah, we had a normie globe believer come in and we're all very excited, QE. What do you want? Give us a break.
I could also move on because I had another point too, and then it turned into a conversation at first.
I was about to say QE was going to come on.
Please tell us how he's feeling. Do you know his favorite color?
Yeah, I've just moved on to a better subject, right? The nature of measurement. We all take it for granted. Like, yeah, of course, measurement. You can't measure R unless you redefine what measuring really is. Did you forget about that option?
Oh, okay, thank you, Arwin.
But what is it?
Well, you could, in your mind, decide that deriving information is also a form of measurement, as long as there was some kind of physical interaction.
Oh,
He said thank you. He didn't. He
Thank
said
you.
thank you.
Exactly,
Don't
Nathan
engage
gets it.
him.
Ugh.
Don't
Yes,
engage
exactly.
him. Right.
Arwin, he said
Hold on,
thank
just
you,
one.
Arwin, not explain it.
Hold on.
When I
10th.
measure a room, I drop my tape measure down and I take a measurement. That's how I measure.
You want to add something, Sam?
Me?
Uh-huh.
Oh no. I was gonna say we should try and measure the normies' feelings. That's about it.
That's a good one.
Well, no, I do have a bit of empathy for a guy like that. Actually, no, that's a fair point, Sam, because I do have a reasonable amount of empathy for a dude like that. Normally, I wouldn't apologise in the middle of a discussion when I'm on point and trying to get someone to understand something. I wouldn't, while he's saying, oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm new here. I did actually take that to heart and say, look, I understand, and I'm sorry I'm getting short with you after your second or third repetition. Because I do have a reasonable amount of empathy for a globe believer. Even if they're a newbie anti-flat earther, which he might be, Eli might be right. Was it you that made that point, Eli? Red pill, blue pill point.
I think so.
I didn't say red pill, blue pill, but I said he's on the. We all made the same point. I made the reference to him being on a knife edge. You go one way or the other.
Brian, then, my bad. Just give the right person credit.
I was just messing for the most
Yeah, it
part,
wasn't
but I
me.
love how QE randomly just comes in on the show. He does he does that a lot too, where he's just like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" It's just funny.
We have nothing else to talk about.
In training, QE, when you're in basic training, and you've got like a training manager that's there pretty much all the time giving you your education on a day-to-day basis, but there's going to be a guy above him that's running that squad, and then there's going to be a guy above him that is basically devoid of the squad and above all of it, right? He's not directly involved with individual training, but he's the guy that bursts in and just starts talking to the recruits like they're dirt and talking to the guy in charge like he's dirt.
That would be the DI, called the drill instructor.
We got to stop 10th from doing that all the time.
I was talking about you. Got to stop 10th. What?
QE is the drill instructor.
No. The drill instructor's the guy he's there in your face most of the time while you're in basic training. But the guy who comes in and just talks to, it wouldn't even talk down to him or shout at him. He'd just come in and demean him in 3 words probably without the drill instructor realising.
General.
Yeah, the general.
The general, there you go. The general just comes in and goes, oh yes, whatever you say, blah, 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 face, which is the training instructor. Then he starts, who are these ragtail bunch of idiots? Just looking at someone square in the eye, a recruit. That's QE.
No, that's a first sergeant does that to drill sergeants. That'd be a first sergeant or a master sergeant.
A general wouldn't even be in the same building as recruits.
But you know what I'm getting at? The guy above the guy that's giving you crap is going to, in a subtle way, give him crap and doesn't even care if you perceive what he's saying as being crap for you.
That would be the sergeant. That would be the sergeant major in the British Army. The sergeant major, first class to second class. They're the ones who do that. What you're talking about, Nathan? Okay.
Right.
Brit's got an army.
Yeah.
But that's you. You've got every right to come in and throw your weight around, metaphorically speaking, QE.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yesterday was classic.
What happened yesterday?
Well, he came in screaming, didn't he? Screaming at the top of his voice.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, he threw a wobble.
How many of the housekeeping questions has he come up with?
He's had a hand in all of them.
Yeah,
You
so
might
he's allowed
remember
to
he
scream.
said he was hungry. He was feeling hungry. You might remember.
Hold on. He's getting his smoke blown up his ass. Go ahead, John. The other John, not QE.
I was going to say, if you made all the housekeeping questions, you could come in here and scream all you wanted to. I'm just saying.
I don't think I made all the housekeeping questions, man.
That scene in Casino where Joe Pesci takes Robert De Niro
Yeah.
out to the desert and says, "You only exist out here because of me."
I had something I wanted to bring to you guys because I wasn't sure about it, but I was talking to whoever that is, Accumu Virus, yesterday, or just
That's
a
your
group of
first
people.
mistake.
Yeah, in the text chat, and they were talking about the trigonometry, and I couldn't get my head around how you could measure the distance, not measure, but you could get the distance to an object that you can't physically go to and you don't know where it is.
You mean
say again?
Like the GP of a star, for example.
The GP, yeah, because I was like, yeah, that wasn't very specific. Yeah, so the GP of the star, they were talking about the sextant, and I was
Well, I
like,
brought it
okay,
up.
so you get the distance to the star, which he was saying was like 3,000 miles or something like that on the flat Earth model, quote unquote. But I was saying, okay, forget the model. How the hell would you even figure out where, like, how far away the star is if you can't go to it?
Easy. Trigonometry. Use that same triangle. You heard of Sakatoa, right? You just solve for the opposite.
Right, you just
Yeah.
presuppose another orientation for the bottom line angle.
Okay, just for 1 second, I just want QE to just
Well, I
explain
know
this
it
to
has
this
to
guy.
do with the angle.
Go ahead, Nathan. I didn't hear you. It's
Yes.
chaos in here. Man.
Okay, I'm trying to ask the guys on G+, just for a second, right? I'm glad the guy doesn't know, because I want him to ask, and I want QE to answer him, but just nice and clear and concise. It's appropriate for this moment in time.
Hey, Jen. Jen, your
Yeah.
mic train wreck.
Self on mute, Jin.
Sorry
Thanks.
about that.
That's okay. I just want to hear, it's an appropriate question. We've just introduced curved adjacents to the housekeeping question. Well, this guy's question is perfectly timed and appropriate to be answered nice and concisely. That moment has now so long gone, right? But we'll try again. We'll see how we get on. Can you ask your question again, Sam? That'd be really great.
Me? Okay. So, how do you get the distance to the star if you don't know where the star is, and can't go there to verify it?
You use trigonometry. You're using the same
Well-
trig, right? You're taking that same angle. However, you're just solving for the opposite. And that should give you the distance to the star, the A side of the star, or the opposite side of the triangle.
Well, so I thought about that, and you would have to presuppose. Wouldn't you have to presuppose at least one thing? Like,
nope.
Well, it all works off of the angle, right?
Yeah, it all
So
works
there's
off the
the
triangle.
angular distance.
It all works off the triangle. It's simple trig. You just use the TOA end of it and solve the opposite side of the triangle. If you know the adjacent, right? You know the angle, and you know the adjacent, you can solve for the opposite.
Yeah, Pythagoras' theorem.
No, well, you could probably do it that way, but just do just solve for the opposite TOA.
Right. So you start at one spot on the ground, and then you move to another spot.
What?
Right. And there's that distance.
No.
No.
No. You know the distance to the G. I'm getting so much feedback, man. I don't know what to do about this. Hold on a second. Where are you at? Are you in Discord?
Me? Yeah, I am.
Hold on a second. Let me put this up. Who am I speaking with?
Sam.
Hey, what's up, Sam?
Good.
All right, there you go. I put it in Discord. Hold on, Nathan. I'll put it in Where you want it, Master B?
Perfect.
All right, you got that same triangle. You looking at this?
Yeah.
Right. So this is just your basic elevation angle, right? You have theta right there. You'll know the adjacent side of that triangle, right? You can calculate it. You'll know that. So once you got theta, right, and then you have the adjacent, you can solve for the opposite.
So the adjacent is what exactly?
Distance to the GP.
So is it distance to where the star is directly overhead?
Yes.
From your position.
Okay. So you start at one position and then you go to the GP, which is where the star is directly overhead.
You don't have to go there. You could just determine it, right?
You you figure out where that is.
Yeah, you're just
And then you
solving
measure the
sides of you're just solving sides of the right triangle, right? Which is easy because you got theta and you have the adjacent. So all you have to do is solve. There it is. There's the formula right there. Tangent theta equals opposite over adjacent, right? So you just plug those numbers in and solve for the opposite. That'll give you your distance. Unless they want to deny trigonometry.
Well, you pretty much just multiply theta by the adjacent, right? And that'll give you the opposite.
I'm still unclear here. Are people talking about actual heights of stars?
No.
Right.
Yes.
No, you can't do that.
The elevation.
You can't do that with triangles.
There's an article.
That's
I just
exactly
posted
what
in-
you do with this.
Hold on.
trig.
Just
Hang on,
Brian and
no.
Kiwi. Go ahead.
If I measure an angle of 54 degrees to a star, and then I
Right.
measure the same star sometime later at 35 degrees, that's two different heights.
Yeah.
How do you get a height to the star above the surface? Using that method,
listen.
you can't.
Well,
you need the time as well of when you take the measurement.
Hold on.
Otherwise,
Rams. Rams. Hold on. Rams. That's not speaking to Brian's question. Q was about to answer him.
Yes. That's correct. You're going to get different heights or opposite sides of that triangle. Correct.
I have an article that might clear this up. It's a Master B.
One second, Tent. 1 second. Is this guy talking about the height of the star above the surface or the distance to the star from the observer? Because when it comes to the height of the star, I have no idea how you're going to solve for that with triangles. The distance, yes.
Yeah, you
due
do.
to the
It's right
angle.
there. Tangent
do you
theta
solve-
equals opposite over adjacent.
It's not triangulation, it's trigonometry, Ryan.
Yeah, but how do you tell the height of the star above the surface of the Earth? You can't tell the height of it. You're going to give it an angle.
I just told you.
But if you take that angle at two different times,
I
that'll
know.
give you two different heights.
I know. You already said it twice. I know. You're going to get different values. Yes.
So that's not a concise value then for that star.
It's not a concise value. That's correct. I don't know what concise value means, but
Wait.
that's how you solve for the opposite side of the triangle.
We're not trying to calculate the height of the stars. We're trying to calculate the distance to the GP above the star, Brian.
Oh, I thought this guy was looking to know the height of the star above the surface.
No, that's why I said no. But in terms of what you're doing, you still need to calculate it as though it's at the top of the ceiling in this triangle. So that's how you're doing it to calculate the GP. You're just not utilising it to give you the height. Could you back engineer it and do that? Yeah.
I don't know if you could, just that's the thing about it. I don't think you can. I don't know.
Can you
how
read
to
the
do that.
article? Can you read the article in Master B I posted, please?
I think what Brian's pointing out is that if you try to say that the stars are a consistent height above the Earth, the math just doesn't really work out.
Right. Knowing where the stars
my point
above, hold on, just to clarify, knowing where the stars above at a particular time, getting that from the star chart just tells you where it's above the ground. So you can confirm that that's correct. Yeah? In other words, if you were directly below the star at that particular time, you just look up and see it. Right? So that bit is known because you can confirm it. You can confirm that the GP is below you at that time if you choose to do so. You can also confirm, when you do the triangulation and figure out where you are, that is the correct distance to that position after you've done triangulation and got there. But when you try and say, well, hold on, it's just a triangle, therefore I can just get the height from this. Well, no, it doesn't work out.
Good.
Yeah, that's all I was. Because I thought the guy was asking what height is the star above the surface. Because the boss used to do that.
Oh, was he?
Well,
Yeah,
well,
that
hold
was.
on. Oh, hold on. Now I'm really
he
confused.
was.
Is that what you were asking? What's his name again?
Sam.
Yeah, Sam.
Oh, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Oh,
So
I completely
that's what
misunderstood
people
what you were
were
asking me.
claiming. They were saying the actual star was like 3,000 something miles above the
Oh,
Earth.
God. Oh, right. Okay. I didn't realise that was what was being asked. Okay.
Wait,
yeah,
did
my point
QE
on the whole
is
thing, Sam.
Back on track.
Am
Sorry,
I-
Brian. I'm sorry to cut you off. Can we go back to QE and Ben or whatever? Sam, sorry.
So wait,
Holy shit.
was that just
Okay,
misunderstood?
Just relax. Just relax, Sam. Just relax. Everyone is confused, right?
I'm relaxed.
I understood your question and I answered
Okay.
your question. Brian had a problem with it because there's different, because the sun keeps moving, right? Or you move or both move. Yeah, you're going to get different values for that. He's got a good point. However, per trig, you should be able to solve the opposite side of that triangle at that specific time.
So you also need the angular distance, don't you?
You already got that. You got theta. Look back on what I posted earlier. Nathan, if you could pop that up on your screen.
Yeah, it's up
But
now
you
as you're
only
talking.
have the distance to the GP, correct?
Yeah, you have the adjacent.
How would you have?
I just showed you. You have the angle. There's the formula right there.
I know there's the
Theta
angle, but
oh my god,
it says angular distance.
what says angular distance?
Not on yours, but on another one, it said that. So there's the bottom part of the triangle, which is the distance to the GP, right? And then you have the right angle part, which would be the height, and then you have the long part. If
the
you don't have,
hypotenuse.
Yeah,
we ain't worried
you
about that.
don't have that.
We ain't worried about that for right now. What we're concerned with is the opposite side of that triangle. That's the distance of that opposite side of the triangle. You can solve for that side of the triangle with that simple formula right there.
The adjacent? For
Tangent theta equals opposite over adjacent. You have theta, and you have the adjacent.
Okay, I see.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Brian has a good point.
You calculate the height of the star? Isn't that what you're doing?
No.
Yeah, but not consistently. You can't.
We've been saying
There's no
that
consistent
he's
height.
saying you can. That's exactly
No,
what
you
it does.
can't. No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah,
Let me
you can.
explain it to you.
You can. I
can
just
for that
showed you.
moment. For that moment, but you can't give a consistent height. You can't give an actual
Right, that's
height.
correct. You can for that moment, correct.
That time,
Yeah.
correct. Where it's above a position on the ground. Because that's what you're utilising. The GP, the ground position.
Yeah.
What Sam is saying is that there's someone telling him that you can calculate the height of the stars above the surface of the Earth. No, you're using that method. The actual height. No, you can't. It's only an apparent
Yes, you
height due
can.
to the angle.
Yes,
Well,
you
if
can. You just said you can for a moment. So now you're saying you
not the
can't. Which one is it?
height, not its actual. I said not its actual height. Not its actual consistent. There's no consistent heights. That's my point. You can't do that because the star is moving or you're moving. Either way.
That's what I said.
This position in. Would you please let me finish?
That's what I said. You keep on droning on about the same fucking thing.
He's talking about actual height, and he's thinking that you are telling him you can get an actual height to the star using that method. You can't.
It is an actual height.
Woo!
Brian's right.
It
Sorry,
is an
sorry, stop.
actual
Everyone
height.
stop. Everyone stop. Hello.
Okay.
Everyone stop. Hello. Hello. He's just said it. Yeah, he does think it's actual height, Brian. That's what he's just said.
Yeah, you
If
can't
an
calculate
airplane
the
goes
actual
up,
height because
you can get its
it's an
height.
apparent height based on the angle. You don't know what the actual height of the star is. You don't even know what the star
Yes, you
itself
can.
is.
Yes, you can. By the trig formula, by tangent theta equals opposite over adjacent.
Yeah, but when the star moves, that gives you a different reading then.
That's correct. So we're going back over the same thing 3 fucking times.
Well, no, you're claiming that you can get an actual height. That's not the actual height. That's an apparent height.
Oh, brother.
I'm
Oh my
sorry,
God.
you're
At
wrong.
the time,
So in order using any form of mathematics, in order to get any size of any object in the sun, you would need to know the size of the object. If you
We're
don't know
not
the
talking
size of
about
the
the
object,
size. We're not talking about the size. Red herring.
okay, hold on, don't cut me off. In order to
I
get the
just cut
size
you
of
off.
dude, shut the fuck up because you keep going on. You
Oh,
can't
really?
explain yourself.
Yeah, telling me to shut the fuck up. Who the fuck you think you are? Clown
We
show.
were all correcting you.
You bring up
John.
angular size. Hold on. We're not talking about the size of the sun, you numpty dipshit. Now, continue. Shut the fuck up. I'll give you shut the fuck up. It's not what your sister
I
said.
think I could bring some clarity. I think I could bring some clarity to this.
Okay, go ahead.
The sky showeth his handiwork, and the firmament declares his glory. I messed that up. You know what I mean? Good luck figuring out what the sky is, boys.
So, Brian,
I can help
hold
you
on.
out as well.
No, hold on, Owen.
I can
Brian,
help out as well.
hold on, Brian. Owen. Are we clear that at that particular moment in time, when you're standing above it, that is precisely what you are calculating when you calculate for the opposite?
Yeah, you can at that particular moment of time, you can give yourself an apparent height to that star or the sun or whatever. But when you move away from it or it moves away from you or both, as QE said, then that's going to give you a different reading. So it's an apparent, it's not an actual. You can't determine the actual height of the stars or the sun.
Agreed.
Using that method.
Agreed.
Right, so it's just a mathematical assumption.
Bloody hell, Arwin.
Sorry, Arwin.
Bloody hell.
That's what the ballers are saying.
That's incorrect, by the way.
What makes it apparent?
Just, oh God. So when you sight the star, you note the time, because you're going to look it up for that time in the star chart, right? In other words, where was it above at that time?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is everyone clear on this subject now?
But its height isn't an apparent height at that moment, is it? It's a real height.
How is it a real height? If in 10 minutes time it's at a different height.
I'll tell you, it's not 93 million miles away. I'll tell you that much.
I can't disagree with that.
In a way, you're right.
What do people say to that?
Hold on. In a way, you're right. Yeah, you're calculating it for a specific number value that you can say, that's its height. You could do that. It'd be wrong, because you're then ascribing an actual distance to that. What is it again? This light in the sky? No, all you know is it's above that position on the ground. That's been tracked for a very long time and is very accurate in terms of what's in the star charts. And you can confirm it. In other words, like I said earlier, you go to that position at that time and look directly to your zenith, and you'll see the stars directly above if it's a navigational star claimed to be at that position at that time. Now, when you're calculating it to do the triangulation, you're drawing a line with angle to it, and then saying that's what you've got as an opposite. Now, that's an apparent height, which is Brian's clarification that he wants to get in and make absolutely certain that no one... I'm glad we're discussing it, because at the start I was like, I hope this doesn't come up early, because there'll be people out there that say, hang on, so that's the height then? Well, no. It works because you know its ground position. That's why we always say GP, as opposed to the height of the star, because that's what you're doing, right? You're pointing at the star in the sky. There it is with a line below it. That's the opposite. That's what you're calling the opposite of this triangle. So when QE gets frustrated and is like, no, that's exactly what you're doing, because it is. Now, it works, but that doesn't mean you can say, I know how high the stars are, because it all falls to crap if you measure it 20 minutes later, because it's at a different height. but it's also at a different ground position, and you can confirm that ground position too. So you go on. So it's useless for ascertaining the actual height of the stars. It'll give you an apparent position at that time, its ground position, and then with this trig, you can calculate where you are by drawing a circle around you and then doing it twice more if it's not capable of being done, because you can eliminate a land position with only 2 of them. But that's essentially the essence of triangulation, and that's what you're doing. So yeah, QE's right to say, no, let's get it clear. That is what the opposite is. Let's make no mistake about it. And we can at this stage. I'm glad it's got to here where we're not new in this subject, when we're talking about the height of the star, because that's what's on this triangle on screen right now.
Nathan,
So mathematical.
Hold on a second.
Right, everyone else stop. Everyone else stop. I know
now.
you do, Arwin, but there's loads of people in the queue. 10th for a start who's been trying for 10 straight minutes.
I'd like to point something out before I got to go. If you listen to, I don't know which Mitchell video it was. I think it was with Professor Bell. It was just the other day where Professor Bell said, "You know the height of the sun, Mitchell. You're implying it," and it's the point sort of got lost because he kept saying it and saying it and saying it, because that's what he was saying. He was thinking about what exactly we're talking about here, because of the trig involved to find out the length of opposite. Just wanted to let everyone know that's what he was referring to, even though he didn't say it because he's a number.
Kiri, just stay on. I want your opinion on this article.
So it's not involved in the subject then.
It's on screen.
Yeah, because
10th.
my statement was, I've been waiting for like 30 minutes now to get a word in. Right? It's mathematical. This is all mathematical presuppositions. I was confronted with this by ballers way back. Oh, Arwin, you don't know triangulation. Yeah, because it uses mathematical presuppositions to complete the formula to make you able to actually execute the math, right? But it almost demands
what mathematical
presuppositions.
What
Well,
are the mathematical
presuppositional
presuppositions?
orientation, for example.
What are the
right?
mathematical presuppositions?
Sorry?
What are the mathematical presuppositions?
Well, the things that you just discussed, right? About apparent height, not actual height, but you have to take it as actual in order to complete the calculation. That sounds pretty damn much like a presupposition to me.
No, actual.
There's no
not actual. Apparent.
Formulas.
I want to get to 10th.
That's the
I've got his
point.
stuff on screen. We can debate this later. It's apparent. But that's what we clarified with Brian. I thought we got to...
Exactly.
Okay, well then that's clear. It's not an actual height, it's an apparent height. Meanwhile, you presented 10th. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's the actual height at that moment,
It wasn't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
So Nathan responded to my point. I'd like to respond back now instead of everybody just watching over me all the time. Yeah,
Quit
can I
feeling
have a
sorry.
discussion here,
Quit
please?
feeling sorry for yourself. No one's
Yeah.
over you.
Oh, that helps. That helps
No
so
one's
much. Every
waltzing
time.
over you.
Yeah.
Why
I'd
you
like
have
to
You're in the
respond
same
now.
boat as all of us, Arwen.
Come on, man. Pile into.
I'm out of here.
That's it, Rams.
This room, you don't want me here. Apparently, I can participate in the discussion.
You're too
Okay.
insecure.
The fuck is
Arwen,
wrong
for this
with you?
room.
I'm out of
You're
here.
too
Good luck.
insecure. You're too
Okay, he's
insecure
gone.
for this room.
He's
Arwen.
gone. Right, good.
Thank you. I'm tired of the baby outrages from a smart guy like Arwen, who I consider my friend. Please grow up and come back in the room. No one is judging you. No one's making you insignificant but yourself.
Okay, well, one thing I will point out, just before you go on with this 10th, just to round this out for Arwin's sake, typically it'd stay here and let that descend. He's now matured to the point where when this happens, which he still does, it's part of his personality, he just goes. And I am very grateful for it. He'll come back, and as long as we can not bring it up and open old wounds, he's actually gone. He has actually just disconnected. Good for him. Thank God. Because that's progress with Arwin, believe it or not.
Okay. I like everyone's opinion on this.
Feel free.
A sextant is used to measure the altitude of a celestial body above a horizontal line of reference, parentheses. Altitude, in this case, is a special use of the word describing an angular measure, not a distance in feet above sea level, end quote.
He doesn't know trig then.
Anybody else?
I don't know. Anybody else got an opinion on it?
He's only talking about the angle. If you only have the angle, then no, you
Could
can't
you
do
say it over again? I didn't hear it for some reason.
You get a bit
Oh,
closer to your mic.
God.
Just one more time, 10th. If you get a bit closer, I don't know if you're a bit too far away.
Yeah. I'll just read the quote. I'll just read the whole thing. It's not that long. A sextant is used to measure the altitude of a celestial body above a horizontal line of reference. Quote unquote. Altitude in this case is a special use of the word describing an angular measure, not a distance in feet above sea level, end quote. I want to know what it means in this case, special use of the word describing in this case. I've been trying to research this and I don't have anything other than this quote.
What they're talking about is the distance to the GP is actual, but the height of the celestial body is not. It's apparent. That's what they're talking about.
No, I know that. That's pretty apparent. That's pretty obvious,
Sorry.
right? Okay. But no, I'm trying to get another statement on why they're able to say this statement. And I've exhausted my search. He gives no reference for it to validate it's the obvious meaning that you just gave. But this is what I'm searching out now, because don't they say they know the distance to the sun?
Well, they do, but this is a double-edged sword if ever I've seen one. Well, okay, you can use this.
Yeah, go ahead and swing it.
Yeah, go ahead and see how that gets on.
There's the look.
Hold on, just with 10th.
Okay.
Hold on, just one sec, Brian. Do you recognise how this is a double-edged sword, 10th?
Why do you think I'm bringing it up?
So you're saying because we can't claim it, they can't claim it, but when they claim that they know the distance to the sun, it's a problem for them. When we say we don't know, the fact that it's disclaimed as being altitude in this case is a special use of the word describing an angular measure and not a distance in feet above sea level. Yeah, there's three things. Just let me address it. There's three things.
Okay,
it's a problem for them, as you've addressed, because they do claim to know the distance to the sun. It's not a problem for us. And I'm glad it's come up at this stage because it's not clouded the issues when we first described using a sextant. It's a problem for flat earthers that do claim the distance to whatever celestial body they're claiming in that instance. So there's three positions. Us, typically, because we say, I don't know, when it comes to something we don't know, isn't a problem. Is a problem if you're saying it's 93 million miles away. Is a problem if you're saying it's 4,000k or whatever the flat earth equivalent is.
Well, there's that, and there's also the actual word of it. Like when you're making a measurement to a star from a position to for its GP, right? That's actually your measurement, right? I mean, it's one of. I still think the sky is a wondrous thing. I don't know crap about it.
You don't
still need a
measure.
flat baseline. You need a flat baseline to measure it. Yeah, you do. It is a
No, you
measure.
calculate it. You don't have an actual position, but you can calculate it based on the triangulation. You calculate it, and you assume, you presuppose certain parts within that calculation. That was my point, right? Because this is all
But
calculus
it's
stuff.
proven trigonometry. It's not. It's proven formulas that
Yeah.
will give you.
Yeah. You do it and it works. You do it
conversation.
and it works, and then when someone gets to the celestial objects and what they are, you go, I don't know. But I still point my sextant at it, get an angle, and can calculate with a right angle triangle how I can get a circle to then get another circle to then cross over with another circle and figure out where I am. That works every time. Well, not knowing what the stars are when I point a sextant at it and measure an angle with a flat baseline, do I concern myself with that? Fortunately not. I'm already long past that. Do I care? No. Does it work? Yeah. Does that mean that I have to make apologies for not knowing what the star is when I point my sextant at it? Nope. Not in the slightest. I don't care. I'd love to know what they are. And not knowing doesn't affect how this... Last point, I'm nearly there. Last point.
It's the thing.
Not knowing doesn't affect the use of the tool. That's the point.
Right, you only need the angular consistency for the entire calculation process. And it is, angular-wise, super consistent. And then how you size it up or assume with it because of the calculation where it ends up in some kind of phantom literal position. Well, if you actually want to claim that position, well, go and prove it, go and approach it, show perspective applies, etc., right? And you can't.
I think this is inserted in here. This is my opinion. I could be wrong. I think this is inserted in here because it's a double-edged sword on them. They say the sun is 93 million miles away, and then here comes the sextant. It uses the same formula, and the sun is not 93 million miles away. So they insert this part and say, well, listen, altitude in this case is a special use of the word, describing an angular measure, not a distance in feet above sea level. Well, what is this special use of the word? And give me a reference to that, because isn't this the way you got it to be 93 million miles away?
No, it's not. That is only part of what they did. They had to pre-assume a load of other nonsense, like a two-way speed of light. Well, they had to first pre-assume that Kepler's analemma was correct. Then they had to take an average distance from the center, which is the R value of their globe, to the center of what they're presuming the sun is, over a course of an average distance over a course of 6 and 12 months. So that's where their speed of light comes from. The whole, I'm not going to go into all of it now, it's a big jumbled mess. But the whole thing has about 4 pre-assumptions before you ever go anywhere. And they end up claiming the sun is 8.03 light minutes away. You know, it's a two-way speed of light, as QE pointed out many years ago. There is no one-way speed of light measurement. There is no speed of light. We don't know what speed light moves at, if any.
Right. So with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Be sure to support this channel by smashing the PayPal link. Entropy is a bitch, and lots of my stuff is currently broken, so support is needed. Please smash the PayPal link to help me sort out a few broken bits and bobs. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a day! What a lovely day!